Hey, welcome, Cardinal fans. This is Tony Madson with the Wild Cardinal Network, and we are getting ready to send off our St. Michael wrestling team to the state wrestling tournament. They're heading out today, and they're wrestling tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., I think is what I heard. Chase Patterson qualified at 157 pounds. Congratulations, Chase.
Thank you, Tony.
Tell me just a little bit about your last. You had 2 matches in region or 1?
So at sectionals, he went 4-2. We had 6 matches, a lot of wrestling across two days, and some ups and downs. But the 2 losses were to the same opponent, who finished third, and Chase walked away with a medal, our first medalist in St. Michael wrestling history. So at the sectional tournament, just qualifying for states was quite the accomplishment, but being able to bring home some hardware from sectionals was also a nice achievement.
That's awesome. It's 6 wrestling matches over 2 days.
Yes,
How'd that feel for you, Chase? Did you get tired?
Yes, sir.
I mean, really wore you down? That's a lot of wrestling.
Yes, sir.
And state, we mentioned, I think you said it would be 4. We're in the final 16, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so you're looking at 4 matches to get into the championship round. And is that over a 2-day period as well?
3-day period, actually.
3-day period, okay.
So they kind of spread it out
for you.
between. This year they're doing something a little different at the state tournament in Huntsville. They're going to be doing the boys and the girls divisions, running them simultaneously throughout the days. Looking at the schedule, it looks like we will be wrestling in 1A, 4A boys division, mostly in the mornings from between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Each day. Of course, it's a double elimination tournament, so you have to kind of win at least a match per day to advance. And then Saturday will be the placement matches. Those are the finals, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th.
Now, do we know, is this going to be on Alabama Public Television or anything like that?
That I am not sure of where it will be broadcasted. I know that Flow Wrestling, it will be streamed there, flowwrestling.com. I think it's subscription-based. They usually do a lot of the different states running their state tournaments this weekend. They'll have some streaming there options, so that'll be available. Track Wrestling is the software that runs the whole tournament. So absent of streaming, the actual match is just following up to see who's up, who's won, how the brackets look. Trackwrestling.com is where people can go to kind of follow the results of the tournament.
Oh, good. Well, we've got a couple places we can look then to see how Chase is doing over the next few days. I'm going to go back again to 6 wrestling matches over a 2-day period. Just describe, if you would, kind of your opponents, and then how you medaled. You got 4th place, is that correct?
That's
so
correct.
They took 4 from the sectionals into state.
6.
6.
Top 6.
Okay.
Top 4 medaled, yeah.
Okay, great. But 6 matches over a 2-day period. Let's get back to that just a second. Tell me a little bit about your opponents. Are you going to be facing them in the state tournament as well? Obviously, it sounds like.
The ones that qualified for state, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so there's a north and a south sectional, 2 sectionals, and the top 6 from each. So we're in the round of 16. We'll have a match. The top 4 seeds have a bye through that first round of 16. There's 12 men in each bracket, and we already know who our first opponent will be in the round of 16. He took 6th place in the south section in our region, as we took 4th.
So did you wrestle him already?
We have not, but we wrestled other kids who wrestled him and whatnot. And throughout the year, too. He's from Satsuma High School, so we're familiar with them and him as well.
Now, 4-2 and the 2 losses to the same wrestler.
Yes, sir.
The hope would be to go up against him again in state.
Yes, sir.
Sooner or later. What'd you learn from learning, the same wrestler that many times that close together as far as the matches time-wise?
I learned to usually just watch my legs. He usually likes to shoot, so I just try to keep my ground, back away, make sure that he doesn't try to finish his move. So
you got a good feel for him. So the third time you meet him, you think you might have the upper hand, is just strategy-wise?
Yes, sir. I feel like I can beat him next time.
With the help of Coach Hicks, of course.
It's a winnable match for sure, and we closed the gap the second time we wrestled for 3rd and 4th place. We missed some opportunities the first time we saw the kid to score some points and kind of went on that way. But we left the first period up. We were winning 6-3 heading into the second round. So we did close the gap. We fixed some things, and there's some other opportunities we had to score more points, that we're going to clean some techniques up and hopefully have our best. You want to peak this time of the year, and Chase definitely wrestled his best matches at the sectional tournament last week. So we're looking to build off of that, and just this week with some of my treatment options, we've been just focusing on our conditioning and not introducing anything really new. We were heavy on conditioning leading into the sectional tournament. Just a lot of sprints, a lot of high intensity interval training in our practices. And I think it paid dividends because you could kind of see in the blood round, which is the match you win, go to states, lose, and go home, and as well as the placement matches that Chase wrestled. His opponents were, they might have gotten ahead going into the third period, especially in the blood round. And then you could see them just fade, kind of the opponents, the last 30 seconds or so. So I really feel like that conditioning kind of like got us over the edge in a game of inches, I guess you would say, to be able to and he showed a lot of heart, a lot of grit to be able to grind out some of those wins, and he definitely earned his place at the states and beat some very, very tough kids. One kid to go in for third and fourth that he had beaten was 31-5 on the year, was highly ranked in the state, preceding the sectional tournament. So he wrestled his best wrestling, and at this stage, you never know, anything can happen at states. I've seen top 2, top 3 seeds lose the first round. I mean, really throw the records out the window, throw the seeds out. Just get out there, and as long as you can put forth your best performance, anything can really happen. So.
Chase is a senior, of course, so this could be his last weekend wrestling. Let's use him as a recruiter. Tell me a little bit, critique if you would. Mr. Sidwell went to sectionals as well. Tell me how he did and what an eighth grader can learn and bring forward, and what a new wrestler can bring into our program.
I mean, for being in eighth grade, he did really good throughout the season, and I feel like if he would keep on working off and on in the season, that he's going to be really good senior year.
How do you do at sectionals?
Well, he sadly lost 0-2. Was it 0-2?
It was 0-2. He went up against the undefeated number 1 ranked kid in the state his first match. He had a bad draw, and at these tournaments, the way they do the seeding, sometimes the draw can mean the difference of advancing, or it can make a big difference. And unfortunately, as an eighth grader, it's more than just wins and losses. It's about wrestling up to your potential and discovering your potential, and trying to find that
and experiencing a sectional tournament,
sure,
and the competition that comes into that sectional tournament.
Sure. And as a second-year program, we didn't have the numbers, so Peyton Sidwell was practicing with Chase and some 1 or 2 others that were 20, 30 pounds bigger than him, being the lower weight class that he was in. So, getting that, I guess, live experience in the practice room was always a challenge, because we didn't want to cause any injury this late in the season. We had to be cautious, but also, give them the tools and the work that they need to be prepared. And that was a challenge. But the one thing about Peyton specifically is that his resilience and he just kind of fell in love with a little bit with the sport. He liked the challenge. He liked the physicality of it, and that's something that you can't really coach. It's not a sport that's for everybody, that everybody kind of just immediately falls in love with, but I could see him kind of progressing even through the losses, just the small progressions and improvements that he was making. Even his confidence started to get built. After Christmas, he dropped a weight class and wrestled in some middle school, junior high tournaments that were just kids his same age and experience, and he did very well. He medaled in a junior high tournament at the Baldwin County tournament, in the middle school division. And I think getting a few wins under his belt, once he established that, he realizes how fun this can be. It's more fun to win, obviously, but also seeing, kind of the reaping the benefits and rewards of all the hard work he put in leading up to that. And, it's, as a first-year wrestler, the analogy I use is usually, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. And if you're first year and And, you're going to be the nail more than you are the hammer. But if you can just persevere and kind of stay the course, and, by the end of the year, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. And my goal is always to, at the end of the year, try and pick a few of the teams that we've seen early in the season and, see if we can't upset them, or, if we had losses early in the year, try to avenge those and use our improvements and our hard work to kind of
He had a
build that
terrific
confidence.
attitude.
Yeah.
We had that your last practice, we came out and did a WCN interview, and he just had a terrific attitude or way to look at it. This is why I came out for it, and this is why I stuck around, and it turned out to be fun, like you said. So a real good attitude he had. Back to recruiting just a little bit, if I can, Chase. Over the last 2 years, you saw some rules changes and stuff like that, so there's a lot of strategy changes that happened in the offseason and stuff like that. As you look towards Mr. Sidwell and some other guys out there in the school that could maybe really learn a lot from wrestling and maybe don't understand the sport itself, what can we do again to bring some athletes into the wrestling program?
I mean, I'm not fully sure, but Coach, he's planning on in the off season to do like a program to try to help people like start the sport or like get into it, and then they can learn more about it, and then they could like slowly get more in the moves, learn more moves, get their stamina built up, so they'd be prepared for it at the start of the season. Which last year and this year we didn't really have that. So
that'll help. That'll certainly help. Yeah. And I think, a little bit of education as well. This is only in its third year. Will be coming up this next year. You're a second-year qualifier for state, which is terrific. So in such a young program. So hopefully we're going to grow more into that. And even in the Southeast, it's really fairly new, and especially new for St. Michael. So I think as we get the faces out there, and we get the coach out there, and we get more people out there, we'll get more people interested in it. And they really, once they get wrestling, it's really a way to get out of your aggression without being really angry at somebody, because it's the strain of the periods and the strain of trying to get out of a hole, the strain of trying to turn someone on their back. That's where your aggression is going, and it's all in yourself, really. You're fighting yourself to get those moves down. Talk to me a little bit about that and what people can learn from wrestling.
Sure. So the something that I've learned in my own personal life and applied way beyond my competition days have been gone. Is perseverance, is not giving up, is pursuing something. If you start something, you finish it. And I think that mentality and something is, there's a lot of lessons. They're not easy lessons to learn by any means. I mean, nothing worthwhile is rarely that easy to do. And I feel like this sport has a lot to offer that kids can, not just use during the 3.5 months of the season, then they kind of forget everything. There are things that really are that can't be just taught. They have to be experienced. And I think that the grind of a 3.5 or 4 month wrestling season, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about, your limitations, maybe mentally, physically. And those challenges, you learn to be honest with yourself. Am I giving it my all? Am I showing up? Am I going through the motions? And just that constant mental focus and can carry you on in other aspects of your life, whether it's a career, a job, school, studying. Am I procrastinating? Am I, waiting till the last minute to cut the weight, in wrestling? Am I waiting the last minute to prepare before the season, during the season, skipping practices whenever you don't feel well? Things of that nature, I think prepare a person for life beyond sports, school, and everything. So, it's tough. We definitely didn't have the numbers this year to be competitive as a team in a dual meet, in a dual meet tournament, dual meets in general. But individually, I think Chase has shown what the benefit of perseverance. I'm not sure, I have the kids, be goal focused and write down their goals, but they don't really share them with me. So if qualifying for states his senior year was a goal of his, he's accomplished that. Or if it's to place, to medal, to win it, that's what we're going to, the season's not over yet, but
I think one last thing to mention as well is size is not necessarily what's important in the sport. When you look at basketball, they want a tall guy. When you look at football, they want a big guy for the line, a lanky guy for the wide receiver. You're looking for a weight class. The toughest guy I ever met in my life was a 122-pound wrestler. Not a big guy at all, but probably the toughest guy I ever met. So if you talk about a 98-pound guy coming in to wrestle, 100, what's his lowest weight? I don't.
About 106.
106.
Yeah.
And some of those guys, I mean, that's just because their frame is small and they're just not the tallest people in the world. But as far as wrestling, they can go far in a sport where other sports they really wouldn't get a chance.
Sure. I mean, in other programs that I've worked with and coached around, football players that may be third or fourth string because they're undersized wide receiver, maybe they're 5'4", 120 pounds just for 7A football, or larger schools that's just a little too small to be able to see the field. But in being able to bring wrestling into Lower Alabama in both Mobile and now Baldwin County, it's really a sport for everyone, all ages, sizes.
But we need the big guy as well.
Experience, and
Don't get me wrong.
yeah, and even experience levels, like everybody has to start somewhere, and there's a culture that needs to be developed that will help. I think with the retention, because kids might make it through a whole year, they didn't give up, and then we had about, I'd say, 7 or 8 kids we were expected to return this year that even passed hydration testing to kind of take that first step to registering, committing to the season, and then for one reason or another, just kind of felt like it wasn't for them this year. Maybe there was injuries through other sports. Maybe there was other factors at play, and just getting the message out there that they took the time off. If they feel like seeing what Chase has gone through against adverse conditions, not having the practice partners, not having a full practice room, and with even myself having assistant coaches really helped me out this year as I went through chemo, as I went through in the last 5 weeks a bout of COVID, flu type A. I mean, my immune system's pretty compromised, so going to these tournaments with a lot of kids around, I have to be careful and be mindful of that. But I've recovered, I've dusted myself off and gotten back up, and was really glad to see Chase's hard work not just this year, over the last 2 years of trying out a sport for the first time and finding the success that he's found. Win or lose at states, I think he's going to be representing St. Michael very well. I've had other coaches, other people just admire his attitude, win or lose, coming off the mat, shaking hands, just he represents the school and himself very well at these competitions where you can see a lot of kids just tempers flaring, even amongst coaches. It happens as well, but I'm looking forward to him experiencing, the state tournament, the highest level that there is in Alabama wrestling, and in just his second year. And last year we had a state qualifier, wrestled very tough, fell short, 0-2. So we're still looking for that St. Michael wrestler to win the first match at states. I really feel like we can accomplish that this weekend. And of course, the first state placer, medalist, champion, all on the table, to be able to achieve. So,
well, one more time, Chase is a senior. So, Chase, as we're coming into the spring of your senior year, you win the state championship. What else are you going to do this spring?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking about probably just going to get a job, probably just gain some weight, finally eat.
Start to eat, okay.
Yes,
Watching your weight is important, of course, in wrestling, because you want to stay in the same area and wrestle people your same size. Tell us one more time, where can we watch and be covered as far as the state tournament? How can we pay attention to what Chase is going to do the next couple of days?
Sure. So flowwrestling.com, there's a Flow Wrestling app that will be streaming the AHSAA State Championships from Huntsville, Alabama. They have cameras on every mat, so it's just a matter of looking up, Chase's weight class, 157, and they go in weight class order in these tournaments, so 106 all the way to 285. So we're kind of right in the middle of each round. They start the round of 16 at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, Thursday, February 13th, and Chase will probably be up within the first 30, 40 minutes, so I'd say around 10:30, 10:40 Central Time. You'll be able to follow Chase streaming at flowwrestling.com. And yeah, hopefully, and just as far as locating his mat and everything, that should be fairly straightforward from the app or the website.
Well, that's awesome. Chase, you're excited, I imagine, and ready to go?
Yes, sir. I'm fired up.
All right, good to hear. Well, you'll be representing St. Michael at the State Wrestling Championships. Chase Patterson, Coach Adam Hicks. Thank you very much for joining us at the Wild Cardinal Network. And as always, you're watching Cardinal Wrestling out of WCN.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.